When you've built your entire career being a scam artist and a con man, you really shouldn't be surprised when people don't believe you. So the big story that is working through the news cycle right now is the supposed assassination attempt at the White House Correspondents Dinner. And what's interesting about this quote-unquote attempt is that there's a lot of people on the red hat side that are calling into question. Check this out and I'll be right back.
Was this just a coincidence or another staged incident?
Tonight will be classic. It'll be funny. It'll be entertaining. There will be some shots fired tonight in the room.
Hours before the chaos, Caroline Leavitt told America to watch tonight because Donald Trump would bring the heat and there would be shots fired. Then suddenly, real shots were fired near the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Shots fired. The Secret Service rushes in and they let Trump continue to sit there. And now they're going to resume the White House Correspondents' Dinner and Trump still plans to deliver a speech. I'm not saying this was staged to boost Trump's tanking approval numbers, but it certainly looks odd. Trump was rushed out, guests hid under tables, Secret Service swarmed the room. So the question everyone is asking now, how did they know? Was shots fired just political slang or a chilling phrase that aged horribly within hours? Americans deserve transparency. If this was a real attack, security failures must be exposed. If it was political theater, that would be one of the biggest manipulations in modern history. Until the full truth comes out, millions will keep asking the same question, coincidence or calculated.
So that was Tucker Carlson raising some questions about this particular incident along with what happened in Butler, PA. And in fact, the Butler, PA incident is now becoming more and more the focus among MAGA circles about its legitimacy. Let's keep in mind that the Trump regime is all about misdirection and flooding the zone. So when we think about this quote-unquote assassination attempt, which just ended up being another attempted grift so that he could get his ballroom built, the real question that we need to ask is, what are they covering up? What are they trying to hide? When we ask that question, it could certainly be any number of things. When we think about all the things that are going wrong with this regime, you have the tanking poll numbers, which are certainly something that you want to distract attention away from. And what better way to gain sympathy than by staging another assassination attempt? So that could be an option. You also have the fact that the midterms are increasingly looking like it's going to be a complete bloodbath for Republicans. So that could be another motivation for a distraction like this. You also have the fact that every single thing that this regime has done has fallen over. They're failing on foreign policy. They're failing on domestic policy. They're failing when it comes to economic policy. Everything about them is a failure. But that really shouldn't be surprising considering that the person at the top of the food chain has been a career failure throughout his entire life. While all of those things are certainly worth trying to distract attention away from, there's one particular thing that I think we need to take a closer look at, and that is how that war of convenience that this regime started in the Middle East with Iran is going. And wouldn't you know, just a few days after reports started coming out that the regime is covering up extensive damage done to U.S. bases across the Middle East and extensive casualties inflicted on U.S. servicemen and women by Iran, that you have this nice, convenient little distraction pop up in terms of an assassination attempt. Now, when you actually dig into the reporting about how everything is going, the regime's going to tell you that everything's going great. But actual reporting from people on the ground and from the region indicates a completely different story. In fact, the story that you get from foreign sources is that Iran is eating the U.S.'s lunch. And that has some far-reaching implications. The whole justification for the U.S. to set up bases all around the Middle East was for a security guarantee for those Middle East countries. And in exchange for that security guarantee, those nations paid billions of dollars for bases and advanced weaponry. All of that weaponry has been neutralized through the use of $20,000 and $50,000 drones that Iran has launched at will and wore down those defenses and caused significant damage. Reports indicate that hundreds of targets across 11 U.S. bases have been pummeled by Iranian drones. And these strikes are going to cost billions of dollars to repair. But the cost in loss of global stature and investment from Middle East countries into the U.S. security arrangement is going to be even more than the physical cost of repairing the damage. You might be thinking that this is all propaganda, but let's apply some critical thinking to what's going on. You have all of these reports coming out from foreign sources that indicates the U.S. is just getting pummeled in the region. And you have Iran basically clowning the U.S. regime and not even coming to the negotiation table. And you've seen Taco Don give extension after extension because the negotiations are going well. And you have the steady stream of propaganda videos coming out from Iran that clowns the administration. You have all of that going on. And what do you see from the U.S. side? Where are all of the war porn videos that typically come out in these foreign adventures that we've seen over the course of our entire life? We don't see any of that footage. In fact, a few weeks ago, there was supposedly this miraculous rescue of downed U.S. airmen, and special operations forces came in and rescued them. Why haven't we heard or seen anything from those pilots? I mean, if this was such a miraculous rescue, there should have been at least some reporting and some media coverage talking about this triumph, and we haven't seen that. We haven't seen any sort of satellite footage from the region either, confirming or denying Iranian reports that Iran has been decimating U.S. troops there. All of this points to a cover-up. And what better way to distract from a cover-up than by cooking up another assassination attempt and distracting attention away from the abject failure of this regime in general, but particularly distract attention away from the military failure that is currently happening in the Middle East. That is probably where the real story sits, and that's probably why we're being distracted with this dog and pony show about another fake assassination attempt.